Hey, yeah, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for asking to do this.
No, I appreciate you doing it for me, actually.
Yeah, we got maybe one or two more people joining. We'll get through this fast. Let me just check if they're coming. We'll get started. Okay, my buddy Frank Crow is joining too. He's a nice guy. Um, Welcome, Frank. He should be on in a second. Hey, Frank, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Dave?
Good, Frank. Yahia recently joined EXP as well, so we're welcoming him aboard.
How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Frank's a old school real estate hustler. He knows many tricks of the trade. People. Okay, we got one more coming. I got a full house here.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Frank. We're gonna blast through some good information quickly. I know everybody's got a busy schedule too. Uh, let's see. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining. Brian may be muted.
What's up?
Hey, Brian. So we have Frank Crow and Yahya, also at EXP. Yahya is a personal trainer and beginning his real estate career. Frank's been doing real estate full time for a few years now and very successful. Brian is doing a dual career along with being a police officer as well. Looks like we got one more coming in. One more named Vivian who just joined up. If you guys want to follow along, we'll be logged into Garden State MLS and the desktop version of KV Core simultaneously, just because the app is a little limited to some functionality on the KV Core mobile app. It's good. It's a good app, but you can't do all of the features. So I'm going to start logging in to KV Core and Garden State MLS.
Got my EXP mug. Rocking the
Oh,
brand today.
nice, man. Where'd you buy that from? The swag store?
I have a thing with mugs.
That's good. It's a good vessel for coffee. Okay, we got the last one in. Now we can get started because I know you guys have busy days. Vivian is joining. Hey, Vivian, hopefully you can, Vivian, can you hear us? She may be muted. That's okay if you're muted. Vivian, if you're listening along, we're going to be logged into the desktop versions of Garden State, MLS, and KV Core. I'm going to try to record most of this if it helps you guys in the future as well. So we're going to be looking at the nice built-in CMA feature in KV Core called Core Present. It's really a sleek presentation. You can create some beautiful emails and PDFs. You can check who opened them, how long they visited for, and everything like that. So let me see if I can begin my screen share here, if I can figure that out.
I'm not sure. I think Vivian's saying she can't hear us.
Oh, is she typing something out? You hear?
Yeah, she wrote that on a chat.
Okay. It could be if you're on your phone or laptop, Vivian, that the volume is too low. Hopefully or you could leave the room and rejoin, but we will be recording this, so I can always send you a link afterwards anyways. Let me get to the screen share here so we can get moving. So again, I'm logged into KV Core and Garden State MLS. If anybody wants to follow along, let's see, how do I do the screen share? It's been a while. Okay, can you guys see what are you guys looking at now on my screen?
You.
Me still. All right, that's not good. How about now?
It said it started screen sharing. There you go. It just popped up. for
Okay,
me.
cool. Let's get that stuff out of here. So yeah, you're limited in functionality on the KV Core app. It's a great app, use it a lot, but you have a lot more features on the desktop or whatever laptop app, whatever you want to call it. So I would spend a lot of time on there. Great tools and great presentations for clients and stuff too. I'm logged in on Garden State MLS on my other tab here. There's a couple ways to find Core Present in KV Core once you're in. Yehi, are you up and running on KV Core now?
Yeah, I am. I've had it for
Cool.
a couple weeks.
I know Brian's got it. Hopefully Frank's digging in. Vivian is pretty new to the company. I'm not sure if she's used it yet. This is the main dashboard. When you log into KV Core, you can find it under Smart CRM. You can also enter Core Present through marketing. If you scroll down the leftmost column and you click on Core Present right there, it'll pop open. Is one way to access this pretty cool tool. It's new to KV Core. So today, Yehi had actually asked me about CMAs, which is a great topic. So we have a few options on Core Present. There's multiple uses. I really haven't looked at the other uses. We're going to click on the win the listing, the leftmost option here under Core Present from KV Core. You could preemptively customize your About Me section that's at the top right. I'm not going to do that right now. Let's just dive in. Win the listing for the seller. So this is where you start building out comps when you're trying to score a big listing. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to enter my own address just so I have something to populate here.
Vivian just sent another message saying she can't hear you.
Okay. Vivian, can you, let's see, where's this chat window? You can tell I don't use this all that often. Why am I not seeing the chat? Vivian, can you hear the other guys when they speak, or is it just me?
She can't hear you. I don't think she knows that question. I can type it into the chat if you
Yeah,
want.
can you shout it in, Yehi? That'd be great. What would a Zoom meeting be without technical difficulties of some sort? Okay, now I should be able to see the chat. Hopefully. No, yes. Right. All other participants have sound. Worst case scenario, this will be recorded and I'll get you the link. You could try restarting your device and rejoining the meeting if you want to try.
Brian, how's your business going?
Not too bad. It's a little slow at the moment, but
Okay.
also busy at work, so it's the trade-off.
All right, we're gonna blast through fast because I think they limit our Zoom times. Vivian, can you hear? Vivian, welcome again. We're logged in to kvcore.com desktop version and GardenStateMLS.com as a agent. From the main KV Core screen, you scroll down your left side. You can click on Core Present right there to bring up Core Present is a great way of doing these CMAs. And yeah, he had asked about it. It's a great topic. Click on Marketing Core Present. You get a few options. You can do buyers presentations and other cool stuff here. You can customize your About Me, but we're going to do Win the Listing. We're creating a listing presentation, which will incorporate a CMA. So I clicked on that. Now we're over here. I'm just entering my address for to get something started, but you'd be entering the property address of the listing appointment that you're hoping to win here. Let's see what's going on with that. It's going through a little authorization process here. Let's try again. Win the listing. Okay, then you'll click to next, comparable details in gray to advance here. It's going to ask you to confirm some details. You should take a look at those. It may not have all the information if the house hasn't sold in a while, so you should look at this stuff. You might have prior MLS records. You may not have that much knowledge. You could do a potential drive-by if you have a listing appointment coming up. You could also check the square footage and year bill from the tax records potentially as well. I'm populating my bedroom count here. So right away, Core Present is pretty cool. It starts pulling in comps. Comps are houses that are similar to your subject property, and that's your kind of your determination to get you started with property value. So there's an automatic way of doing that through Core Present, but as most things in life, there's really not an easy button to do this the right way. We all wish there was, but this does take brain power. You can scroll down in auto and look at the different categories, confirm single family, confirming year built. You can customize these ranges too. If you're not yielding enough comps that are being pulled by Core Present, you can increase your ranges for many of these items. You can limit things potentially too if you have too many results if you wanted to. Year built, you could see it's going 1933 to 2021, which is kind of a crazy range, but I'm not going to mess with it. Close date, 6 months is probably ideal, or 3 months if there's enough data. If it's a very unique property, maybe you'd have to go back 12 months, but newer data is better when it comes to pulling the closed comps. Yeah, typically, we're trying to almost mimic what an appraiser does when they do a valuation, although we are not licensed appraisers. And those appraisers are really going to look at the most recent data. You know, if you had to your target property, they'll look at the same zip code. They're going to look for the same style of home, and they want really recent data. I mean, ideally, these guys are going to pull 3 months of data if they can to determine their property value. So we're kind of reverse engineering what an appraiser does through these tools. So more recent's better, more distant, not so great. But if it's a unique property, we may not have a lot of options. Well, you know, what if you have the 125-acre farm in over by you? Well, actually, maybe there's a few in Bernardsville or Basking Ridge, but something very unique is you'd have to go back further in time to find something that was very similar to that property to get a comparable valuation. Bed count. So let's see. Yeah, you can do a range here as well. You can slide that out, and that's not a bad idea typically either. We're gonna leave it at 3 for now. You know, square footage is typically pulled from the tax records. We can't be held accountable for those numbers. We're not measuring stuff. I think could be a good idea to often check this, include listings that don't list square footage, but align to other criteria. You know, square footage typically does not account for anything below grade, like basement and stuff like that. And having a large finished basement could sometimes double the livable space of a home. So it doesn't tell all the details about a house necessarily, a square footage. So, you know, it's going to take some finagling for you guys and gals to get used to the system. Total lot size, I don't even mess with it. So when you do that, you know, you can see when you zoom in on the map here, you can see it's starting to pull some comps. you can create your own custom radius here, which is cool. You can pull stuff by towns by zooming in. You can draw custom shapes and sizes on the map right here, which is helpful. I'm over here somewhere. And we're going to look at one of the problems of pulling automatic comps. Well, there's many problems of pulling automatic comps through anything, through Corp-Present. Like this comp, Essling Lake Road, that's a seasonal lake in my town. I live in a 4-season lake. I live here year round. I don't have 2 houses. Essling Lake coming up on my screen is only a 3-season community. Houses have much different values there. So, a computer may have AI, but they're still going to be dumb. They're not going to know what you and I know. And our job is, as we advance, to learn more and more of these communities, especially when we're working in our hometown, to learn them better. And you have to eliminate these bad comps. So, you could pull these up separately, look for big price deviations and figure out, why does this comp not belong? What's different about that one? My other issue is, for me, this pulls up a lot of flood zone houses in Denville by the river. Typically, those are not going to be comps I'm going to bring for my house. I'm not in a flood zone. Greatly different values. So it's a starting point. It's down and dirty. It may work out well for you, and how you run your business is going to be a matter of preference. Typically, I really don't like using these automatic comps. They might get you started, but that's why we're going to do something a little different. We can click on manual comps now. I'm very reliant on the MLS here in Garden State MLS. So let's do an advanced search. You always start on Garden State MLS. We'll blast through fast, an advanced search. Residential. We'll do a very quick search if this internet keeps up with me. We're going to look for sold listings. When you pull in comps, you ideally want houses sold. Your criteria is on the left-hand side here. You can go down that in order. I'm in Morris County. We've got a lot of other county options. You want to limit that. Status is sold is your ideal comp. You're typically only going to want 1 town for comps, ideally. Sometimes there are exceptions to that rule. So our house, unfortunately, will only have 1 bathroom. So I'm going to enter a range of 1 to 1 to get the best comps. Half bathroom on the MLS is actually 0.1, which is counterintuitive, but how else would you, if you had 0.5 bathrooms, it would count it as 5 half bathrooms. So intuitively, it has to be Yahia 0.1 and Vivian. So if there were 2 half bathrooms, it's not a whole, then it's 1.2 is 1 and 2 half bathrooms is how you do that. And you could enter a range. You could do, let's bring up 1 bath and 1.5 bathrooms to get more results. So, but I'm going to do 1 to 1 here. I'm going to try to limit them. Bedrooms, you could create a range in the MLS. I'm going to do 3 to 3. You've got all of your criteria in the center of your screen of what you've selected so far, excuse me. So we've got Denville. I'm going to eliminate the list price for now. We have the County of Morris, sold houses, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. The other field that is very important here is I use property subtype in the MLS all day and all night. Very good field. You can search for criteria on the left side on an MLS, or you can scroll through them, which takes a long time. Property subtype is where you can differentiate between a condo, townhouse, and single family, because those numbers don't necessarily correlate. I'm in single family, so I'm just going to have that checked. And if you're comping a condo, you definitely only want to have the condo option checked there, and you don't want to have a single family comps for that. That's selected. One other thing I like to use is you can enter the closing date as well to limit your results in Garden State MLS. Appraiser typically wants to go back 3 months, ideally if they could. Sometimes you got to go back a little broader. It's about November now. Let's just try to get a lot of results. Let's go back to June 1st as the minimum closing date. So those are houses that sold. If you leave that open, that's going to go all the way back to 12 months ago from the day you're entering. That's the limit of the range on the status of sold. There's a way to bring up older solds. We're not looking at that. So I'm telling the computer, anything like this house that closed since June, please bring up for me. That's all we're going to do for right now. Hit the search button. We have 11 results, which is nice. That's a nice sweet spot. You don't want a 200. You're not going to have time to look through them. You don't want two because that's not enough data to get anything started. Here are your results. You can sort them by list price to make sense of them. A lot of times you're going to quickly eliminate the outliers when you're pulling up comps. Outliers are going to be your flood zones, your tear downs, your short sales. Also, maybe houses that are overbuilt for your town. Maybe they're on extra acreage. Maybe they've got a massive 5-car detached commercial grade garage. It really boosts the value. Maybe they got a horse stable. So, you can then start looking at them, and you want to find houses that really look just like the one you're comping. So, you can always look at a screenshot on Google Maps if you got an appointment to get a feel for the house. Definitely go for a drive-by too if you haven't been in yet, just to have some rough idea what's going on. In an ideal world, you go see the house first and tell the seller this is a two-part process. First, I'd really like to see your house, ask you more details. Then I'm going to really run my CMA when I've learned a little bit more about it, so I have the proper data. So two-part process is ideal for a CMA. Sometimes they're just going to say list the house right away, give me something. And you should always, anytime you're going to a house, you should be knowledgeable on market data. You don't want to go in there flying blind. They may test you with questions and see what you really know. So you don't want to go unprepared. So this is a good way of doing that. So first house, not to say anything negative, does not look too move-in ready. Says cash or 2 or 3K loan only. This is a tear down, probably the abused derelict house. Fortunately, my house is a little better shape than that, so we're going to eliminate that. These are the outliers. We're going to cut through the fat right here and get some good comps.
David.
So, yep. What's up, Frank?
If you were to do it through the map, right? If you was to check
Yep.
all of them and then do map, would
Yep.
that give you like a closest house that's to you that you can see what's better?
It might find them, Frank, or if once you're geographically closest to you. My issue is sometimes it misses them for whatever reason. It doesn't, the criteria is different on there.
No. You see where it says email up on top with the blue bar is?
Oh, up here, yeah.
Yeah, the map. If you click on the map.
To see him on here on Garden State MLS Plus the one. You could, Frank, but I still like to go through and maybe find an architectural style that's like a dead ringer. If you got 10 or 11, I want to find, maybe there's a spitting image of that 2 miles away in my town. You know what I mean? But you're right. If you can get real close, that's a great idea too. Because I'm not utilizing enough. Frank's got a good idea to tap in there. I'll find, you never want to miss a comp or anything on the same street of your appointment, because you'll look very, very foolish. So that's a great idea to look at the map here. Is you don't want to get caught with your pants down. And if you don't know what's going on in that person's street and the neighbor just sold, they're not going to be happy with, the information you're providing for them. So
I'm sorry to jump in. I was just curious, how do you find out information like flood zones and all that?
that's a good question. Yeah. There is some details in that. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. I have some flood insurer contacts. There is a way to start that check through the MLS though. So we'll just say, I don't think any of these actually are in flood zones. Small towns, you end up knowing all the streets. If you pull up an individual listing in Garden State MLS, there's a way to at least check if it could be in a flood zone. Click on the 3 bars, top left corner, and then click on tax data. Yeah. This is not foolproof. There is a built-in service that'll try to detect flood zones, but you should always verify this. You could always ask the listing agent, or you could reach out to a flood insurer directly. This is a service Garden State MLS links to. It correlates to the property you came from. You hit the tax data button, and you can click over this flood map tab on this, and it seems somewhat reliable, but we don't want to assume the accountability that this is 100% accurate. Our job is to share information, but not say we're a flood zone expert. So you can say, it doesn't look like it's in a flood zone to me from what I can see with my tools, but let's check that with a flood insurance specialist so that, you know, we're not claiming to be an expert on flood zones. This is your starting tool. If it wasn't a flood zone, the parcel should be showing as typically washed out in blue, but this is not foolproof yet here. So it's just a starting point here. And up here in this little area, it also says special flood hazard area, SFHA, no. If it said yes, then we could assume it's likely to be in a flood zone too. So just to back out of it, so you hit the tax data on any listing in Garden State MLS. The other MLSs have different tools. That brings up this tool, highlights the property, click over to flood map and take a look on there. But you should always verify this with a flood insurance specialist because these are always changing. We're not flood insurance specialists here. Okay, so let's just keep, thank you for the question too. Great question, yeah. That looks like a ranch. Great for buyer contractor, a little bit of a fixer upper, but you know, let's just select it for now for argument's sake. Let's try to grab 3 or 4 great comps here. That house looks like it's not bad shape. It's an older house like my house. I'm going to select it. Another look, this looks like a nice modern ranch. Let's select that one. Maybe too modern for mine, but that's okay. Now this is a raised ranch with 2 stories, which is not what I live in. My raised ranch, the basement is above grade. You enter through the basement. The value could be a little higher, and we can see that in the sale price. Basically, you got a 2-story above grade house. This all comes with experience, yeah, but you can just see visually, right? You look at the front of the house. I know my house is 1 level above the soil, and we can see visually this is typically going to be a little bit of a higher price, but we can select it for now. Try to normalize these prices later. I'll hit narrow. Now that I have those guys and gals, we can now manually pull these MLS numbers in to Core Presents. We can just copy and paste that number. And because my MLS, my KV Core is linked to Garden State, it's going to populate that information, hopefully. See to find it.
All right, Dave, I gotta jump off. I got a meeting with the my daughter's school, so.
Okay, Frank, thanks for joining. I'll shoot you the link later.
Thank you. I appreciate it,
All right,
man.
have
Good
a
luck,
good one.
guys. All right.
And why is this freezing? Okay. Let's try the address. Usually the MLS number works. Let's just try typing in. Three 370-5151. Let's try typing in. Let's try that. Okay, I think, yep. I think it grabbed that one. So what I'm doing is I'm manually pulling the comps in Yahi. And the reason for doing this is it's a really nice interface here on so we can just keep doing add another. It looks like it's finding these houses on Core Present. And 3 or 4 comps, if they're similar looking homes sold recently, is a nice starting point for this. So let's head over to build CMA and see what happens here. So this is looking pretty good so far. We've got our average of closed comps right here, and I just know from experience that a 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranch is typically going to be about 350. So this number just makes sense to me. We can look around at, should list the comps here as well somewhere. There's a lot of features in here. Search criteria. Here we see that 4 total comps were used in this analysis up here. It's confirming they're closed. You could pull in actives and under contracts as well if you want to. A lot of times you're going to be limited for time when you're doing these CMAs. Can do view results. And what Core Present does is it creates a really nice visual interface. This will be an interactive email that gets sent out to the client. You can customize pages, or you can create a PDF to print out of this as well. Really sleek interface, but the power of emailing is you can view when they click it and stuff like that. Let's see. Just have,
Did it just automatically sort them out as coming soon, active, and all that? You didn't do anything for those, right?
it will know from it'll pull that from the MLS. There's nothing you need to do with that. And you can see that it selected them as foreclosed. It just knows, it checks the status date, and it translates from the MLS to KV Core. You know, actives and under contracts are great, but you always want closed, right? Because the proof is in the pudding, right? If a house doesn't sell, it could be severely overpriced, so that doesn't really help you with the market value. So solds are I find are the most important. But if there's a pending or active on the street, you definitely wouldn't want to miss that either, right? You know, same neighborhood, that would be significant to the seller as well. Phone is blowing up here. I'm just gonna keep ignoring that. Areas of outliers, and it looks like it's not. We've got 3 houses that are slightly smaller, so that's interesting information it's providing me. 7% change between listed and recording comps. Price per square foot. Let's click over to create presentation in the top right hand corner now. And let's see what happens. So this is very, very interactive, this part of the CMA. I think it can really wow someone if you have an appointment to even grab a cell phone shot in advance of the front of their house. It just screams, I've put in extra work for you. I know your neighborhood, I've been there. And it's going to grab their attention as well. Whereas just a street name could be a little bland, maybe a little generic, but when it's very catered to them, they're more likely to take this seriously as well. So you can add a cover image right here in the top right corner, very customizable. I don't think I have a picture handy in front of my house that I want to use right now, but you could browse your computer, upload that here. So again, this has to be done on the desktop version. I don't think you can create this on the mobile version of KV Core. So you do want to absolutely put a custom image up top if you can. We can scroll through the sections and you can view the different pages. You can go through manually as well of the automatic template of Core Present. And you have the ability to both add and remove slides right here on the left-hand side. It's just like using Microsoft PowerPoint. So it's got your default slides. There might be some you don't like, or you might make some of these on your own, or some you don't agree with. So, but they're pretty eye-catching. You know, so take your time going through these, and you can make your own custom branded one as well. This looks like it's mapping out the comps, which is pretty cool, showing them on a map where they fall. Distance from subject is really interesting. That will be very interesting to the seller. Like Frank mentioned, great points. The closer you have to the subject house, the more accurate the value, the more impactful that will be to the seller, that you really understand, know the neighborhood. That's great. Our close dates come up within 6 months is ideal. So it's just kind of summarizing our comps here. It's nice, really nice graphical interface. And this is interactive, which is the power of emailing this over to sellers. See how they can click on different data points here? So it does make a nice printout, but you're going to lose that interactivity. So you could do both, ideally, and send it to them. And your goal is to win the listing appointment to represent the sale when you're doing this, obviously. Great idea. You know, if you want to practice on your own, the more you do this, the better you get. The more you are able to refine the slideshow to your liking too. So you can do a comp at your own house, your neighbor's house, parents' house, friend's house. And the more that you do this, the better you get at it, for sure. Let's keep advancing through the pre-populated slides. Cool, showing us kind of where these comps are graphing, you know, from average, closest sold, then we've got our highest one, which was at probably 2-story home, a little bit of an outlier there. And we'll head on to the next one. And just telling people that we're telling the seller here graphically that the more aggressive the pricing, the more buyers come see a house, and that's usually pretty good information, right? You want to attract a crowd, get a bidding war going. If you don't agree with that, you can always remove it. This is a slide of buyer demand. And I don't know if this is grabbing any data right now. But there is a switch for comparable supply. And sometimes if a slide's not making sense to me or no data's come up, that's a perfect time to exit out, to pull it out, yank it out. Different personality types of different sellers are going to have, you know, different levels of patience for wanting to view all these slides. It could be just fluff and puff or meaningless to them. A lot of them might say, just show me the comps. Some of them may even say, just give me a price. So you never know what the personality type is of the seller you're potentially dealing with. So getting a grasp on their communication methods or learning methods, very, very important. Some people do not want a 20-page report. Other people may prefer a 50-page report. So, you know, asking questions and just making observations about them. If you've met in person, if you know them in person, you've spoken on the phone, may help you deduce what's the best type of presentation for this person as well. So, you know, I don't see any harm in cutting out some of these fluff slides that, you know, are just graphically oriented, that are pretty, but aren't providing a whole lot of value for me right now.
Well, actually, I was wondering,
Yeah.
is there a way to access that tool, I guess, directly, like the buyer demand tool on KV Core?
I'm not positive there is. Yeah, that's a great question. But if not, you can actually export one of these as a PDF anyways. So if you liked the slide yourself, you could always just run through a sample one and just export it as a PDF to grab the slide, just to use it. If you haven't been, we have some really, really cool stuff in EXP Marketing Center. Your EXP enterprise login, I believe, should bring you into this. And there's probably going to be some overlap between the tools. Like, they are definitely listing presentations and stuff in Marketing Center, but it's not going to have the power to pull comps from the MLS. This is more of a template that you have to put a lot more time into, although some of them are very, very sleek. You know, so you can search for stuff on expmarketingcenter.com, click on browse designs, and you should spend time in here. They're really, really beautiful designs in here. Video creator. I know there is a listing presentation somewhere to be found as well. That's listing flyers. That's not for actually a listing appointment there. But this is going to take a lot more kind of sculpting to get the way you want them to look on Marketing Center, but a lot of nice printouts and stuff like that. So, I mean, so you can use search menu. Maybe I'll type in seller. Let's see what comes up for the keyword seller. Seller's Roadmap is a great tool. We've Spanish, English. Brian's Express offers certified, which is a good deal. Questionnaire. Agent attraction.
This might be a silly question, but do you just print them out regularly, or do you get them like specially printed, like on
Yep.
professional time?
Good question. And that comes down to preference, time, stuff like that. Yeah. I think you know, Staples is a great place to get stuff printed at. I did invest. I bought an Epson color printer used on Facebook. I got it for like $150. I'm not an accountant, but that could be a business expense for people too. And when you're under the gun and you've got to get this paperwork done fast, right? It's 11 o'clock. Someone says listed tomorrow. You're not gonna have a lot of time to do all these documents. So I've invested in a home color printer and, excuse me, higher end paper as well, heavier stock. In a GIF color, regular copy paper is okay as well. So this is your brand, and I think that the better the marketing materials you can create, it might, if you want to cater to that luxury crowd, you might want to have your print materials look like luxury materials as well. Is how I approach this stuff. So doing your research on a color printer could be a good investment in your business, but Staples is a good place to print stuff out too if you want to have just some stock prints, just kind of a home library of these sheets we'll come back to time and time again. Is a good approach as well. They have different stocks there. But first, you can customize a marketing center as well. And all the sheets are customizable. And you can save those changes here. So I don't look a whole lot like her, fortunately for her. So you change that out here. It's just a template and you enter your credentials on these sheets and then you can download them. Hopefully that's answers your question. Yeah, sorry if I get long-winded here.
Oh, not at all. I appreciate it.
Okay. So buyer demand. So I actually X that one out. So that's removed. So it's not going to be exported from the slides at this point. Let's see. Is this hanging up on me here? Could be. Okay. Okay, buyers. Okay, this is about buyer activity. I'm not even exactly sure where it's pulling that from. This could be one of those fluff slides too. Could potentially be misinformation if you don't complete it. These are like pulling leads from KV Core or something like that. I'm gonna exit out. I don't fully understand it either.
Yeah, I personally don't like some of
Yeah.
these pages towards the end.
Yeah,
Because
I do a lot of trimming down, Brian. And my experience is most people do not want a 50-page report. They want a nice trim to the fat 5 to 10-page report on the comps. So, I think it's just safer.
Plus you have to, if they ask you,
Right. What does that actually mean?
who's that, or
Yeah.
where are these numbers? And you're
Yeah.
like, well, I have no idea.
Yeah. But then there's some of these, he like this is a pretty generic slide here. It talks about open houses, virtual tours, very nice graphic. And I think these visuals are very bold in that, we're living a visually oriented world. So I like just these kind of bold graphics that you should take your time to read it, make sure you agree that you could be offering virtual tours, email, social media ads, stuff like that. Make sure you know what's on these because you don't want to hand this to someone and they say, well, where's my social media ad? Right. So you should be aware of the content in advance as well. I don't think you can alter the text on these per se, straightforward. Let's keep going. This is about core social. This is about creating social media ads with articles, holiday greetings, and custom posts. So like Brian said, this is not something I'm going to commit to. And, I think our job as the agent is we want to not overcommit. We want to kind of over deliver and not overcommit. So things like this is just be careful what you're sending people. Take the time to read these. If it doesn't make sense up front, just exit out. We don't need all this stuff. This is just kind of pretty stuff, bells and whistles. Let's just jump back in, make sure we got what we need. What's my home worth, right? So we actually have comps here and stuff like that. That's what's really important, and that's the importance of what we're doing today. Is actually doing the comps. Now, if we go back to build CMA, sometimes you can refine these comps a little bit. I don't see a way to do that here. But anyways, if you've chosen comps that are most relevant to your house, it's going to create typically a range. So you, in this area, you can actually, once you're getting familiar with pulling comps, is you can enter a range here that you want to present to the sellers. You typically don't want to give them one price either, because you're likely to be wrong. So maybe you want to give them what you would consider a pretty aggressive price, maybe the lower end of those comps. And then, unfortunately, people are typically going to err on the high side, right? Because most people want most top dollar for the house. It's of course human nature to want more money. We all do. I could use more money if anyone wants to send it over. So it's just human nature. They're going to err towards the top of that range. So you don't want to go crazy with those numbers. They're going to say list for that. It's just it's going to be a knee-jerk reaction. So we are sculpting these comps. We're interpreting them. We want to have a strategy in mind. Usually you do want to get pretty aggressive, right? We want to create competition when someone's selling is our goal, so that people have to compete against each other. So you do want to eliminate a lot of those outliers, and that will be done through the MLS, right? Like I said, like that one that sold for 380, two-story house, is significantly above the other three comps for ranches in my town, because it's a larger home. So you don't want to mislead the seller by providing comps that you don't think are accurate. You want to find that the comps that are most pertinent to the subject property to the best of your ability. And so I think you want to be, I like to be a little conservative when I'm providing a range. Let's just enter one here. We got our sale price in the MLS, so they're going 320 to 380. I don't want to do 380 because I know that's high here, and I know that's just intuitively what people are going to choose. They're probably not going to choose the low end either, right? If they're listing their house. So let's take a look. So the higher end was like 352. So let's just enter that in. Or maybe you could kind of average out that outlier, be like, you know what? Let's go crazy. Let's do 360, because we know it's possible to sell a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. So again, there's not an easy button for this stuff, unfortunately. But the more time you spend with it, I think the easier it gets. I don't know what that range 2 is doing. We got a low or high. Let's see what that happens. Agent price. Oh, this is actually your target, your suggested price. I'm sorry, I'm entering wrong. And then you're entering, you can enter your range or your price. I'm sorry, I was entering the wrong box. 320, 360. And then you hit add. And I think that's safer, but this is all personal preference. Cool part about this job is you can decide this is how I want to do it. And after you spent the time reviewing these comps, it's very, very important, yeah, to spend time with these, is even to look at the pictures of each individual room will tell you a lot about that condition. That's the importance of doing one of these two-step processes, though, that you went to see the house ideally first, and you're just there to ask questions and not get nervous. I think being a realtor is really being an expert question asker and just saying, hey, what work have you done on the house since you bought the house? What do you think are the best features of your house if you had to summarize it? Are there any bonus rooms that I should know about? And just go in there as a question asker, because you can't assume you know it all going in. And I think that shows a lot of confidence going in there to ask questions. You could always bring a few comps in advance, but just say, I'm really here for fact finding on my first trip. That's how I work, is I need to know as many details as I can of your house to get you the best market value. So ideally you do a two-step process, but you should be familiar with market values in advance too by clicking through pictures. Read the description as well. Like this one says, great opportunity for buyer contractor. And that's basically read between the lines. That's saying this needs a lot of work. Maybe it's outdated. Maybe there's damage to the wood and stuff like that. So you should have read the remarks on the comps you're providing to account for those conditions. And that will help you with the market value. So there are other tools as well for creating CMAs that are visually striking. Yeah. I just like this because it integrates so well with our CMA. It's really nice. You've got a PDF and a web preview here. once you're ready to go, you can click the present and share. And I think this creates several options. You can add your client's name here if they're in KV Core already. I wouldn't recommend adding a listing agreement right here. You could. Net sheet, seller's net sheet is never a bad idea. It helps them recognize how much cash they'll walk away with after closing. But that's going to take a lot of homework to get these numbers from them. I actually have a blank template for a seller's net sheet that I can give you instead of that. So here you have the options of email the presentation or download and print. They're both great options, or ideally both. But what's nice about the email one is you'll be able to see in KV Core when they open it how often they've visited and stuff like that. But if you're running out the door, you hit download and print.
Can you save that to, like, let's say I finished it, but I'm not ready to send it out yet. Can you save it to come back to?
That is a good question. And, you know, I'm not absolutely certain.
I'm pretty sure they automatically save, because I'm looking at let me go to mine real quick, because I was just messing around with it when it first came out. And yeah, so the ones that I was just like randomly doing are sitting when you first go to core present. It shows past presentations, and I didn't like save or I just kind of was going through it, and it just saves everything you do, it seems like.
Right. You know,
Thank you.
yeah, I think that the bulk of the work for me is finding the right comps. So actually my routine that I like to go through my workflow is I like to create folders when I'm going on a listing presentation on my hard drive, seller specific. This is a very important part of my process, because just finding the comps can take you a lot of time, I find, and you don't want to do this a lot, right? If you're working on a listing, this could take months to bring to fruition, in my experience. So my actual workflow is I select the comps in Garden State MLS, because this might be the lion's share of the work, and then I hit I actually like to hit view print there for whatever reason. And I'll pluck the agent complete. Agent complete will show you the final sale price, client version will not. And then you could grab also the images, or you could download all of them in the flyer multi-photo. Agent complete only has one picture, the main picture. And this way you've got the photographs to show the condition as well. So yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, I hit viewer print here. Then they come up.
So
Yeah,
sorry, how did you get to that part?
sure. Okay, so we're still on our search results that I had originally from my criteria, right, in Garden State MLS. And then you've got this bar above. You could, if you want them for yourself, and I really recommend that. Or I'll hit download here. Maybe that's a smart thing to do. No, that's not working for whatever reason. That's something different. View print. You can experiment too. You might have a preference. There's a lot of cool report formats here. Agent complete is going to have the final sale price. Client full has 5 photographs, does not show the sale price. Images is all the pictures. Let's hit view. And let's see what comes up. So these are the actual MLS reports showing on my screen. Yeah. So first one is agent complete. So it's a sold listing. We've got the final sale price in the top right, original list price, last list price for it sold, and that's the original list price what it sold for. Days on market, terms, cash deal, so that, you know, could be pertinent. So that's sold. You can see
Sorry to
commission.
keep jumping in, but
Good.
this is something that actually, one of the reasons that I was hoping to do this was, is there like a breakdown of all these abbreviations where I can find it for Garden State MLS? Because that was something I was kind of struggling with. Like, I'm seeing all these, you know, it looks like useful information, but I don't even know what some of them mean.
That's a good question. They may have a glossary. It's been so long. Brian, do you remember how you learned these? Was it just repetition? You figured these out?
Yeah. And actually, I'm sorry I threw it away. I printed out my own house that was sold on here when I bought it, and
Good idea.
I just went and wrote next to each one what it was, as I like, it took me a couple weeks, And then I think I asked you for a few that I wasn't sure of, but I wish I hadn't thrown it out because I could have sent you a picture. I had all
Yeah.
but after after a couple months, it was like, okay, I know what they are now.
Yeah, we'll just real quick while we're looking at these, what are the most important ones on the MLS? List price, LP, right? This is your financial section, LP, OLP, original list price. What was it first listed at before any increase, decreases? SP, sold price, what did it actually close for? LD is list date. XD is expiration date. When would that listing contract have expired if it had not sold? First showing date, let's see if I know them all. Under contract date, anticipated close date, actual closing date, active days on the market, days on market, terms, lot size, acres, those are just zip codes. FHA 55 and over would be adult only community. So that's you will work in those eventually too. Those are not usually single family homes around here.
What's the one that gave me the most trouble in the beginning was the status.
Okay.
The A with the asterisks.
Okay.
Threw me off.
I was going to ask about that actually, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Good point. Great point. The status is tough too. There's a lot of interesting ones. Yeah, and we can breeze through those real quick. Very, very critical one to understand. So our options for status, maybe I can magnify that, are some of them are intuitive. So coming soon means it can't be shown yet, right? It will be available in a few days. Active means it is for sale. But what Brian is saying is there's an A with an asterisk that comes up, and we can even look at that maybe. Let's check them all. See if one comes up. See these with the A and the asterisk, yeah, here? The asterisk is tiny, right? See that little, I'm trying to highlight in blue?
Yeah, I see.
It's tiny, but it's also very, very important. That means it's entering attorney review the deal. So that means a contract has tentatively been signed by the sellers and is not yet under contract, but it's in between. The A without the asterisk is just active. It should be available to purchase. The asterisk is kind of like a pending. It means in attorney review, the deal has been signed. It's going over to lawyers. Then it kind of goes down the list. Then it goes to UC under contract, where terms are kind of locked in, and then S is sold here. If you go back, there are other categories. So like I said, the MLS groups, I'm going to ignore that for now, groups everything within the past 12 months under sold. And so if you wanted to go back to sold more than 12 months, you actually have to go into old sold. So anything that was sold 366 days ago, over a year ago, is going to fall under old sold, although it's not ancient history. So maybe you're looking for a record of your parents' house when it sold last time, but maybe that was 2 years ago. That would, or whoever's house, it's going to fall under old sold. And the only way to find that is by selecting that criteria. These are just 12 months of data. Temporarily off market, house is not being shown. Withdrawn, the listing could have been terminated. Expired means it didn't sell. So
and US is the under contract, but
right, right. Yeah,
So-
if you when you see the thanks for explaining that, Brian. US could be patriotic, but it also means he under contract, continue to show. What does that mean? Oh, it means that maybe the sellers are not certain their deal is going to close. A lot of times there's remediation or there's financing issues in the home, so you can still show a home if you're working with buyers if it's US. But you generally are not going to be able to show a home if it's UC under contract. That's the difference in those different acronyms or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, a lot of interesting information here in the MLS. But just for argument's sake, like I said, when I'm creating comps, I like to really create a folder. I like to get organized, keep it on my laptop for presentation, throw it on Dropbox. You have it on the cloud. The comps pulled aside as well. So we can narrow that down. Gotta zoom out a little bit here. View print. I like to use the agent complete for comps. If you're showing it to a client, you only show them the client full. It's going to exclude commission information. Images is good to see the pictures. Flyer multi-photo shows about 5 pictures per listing. And again, the point of this is just so you save the comps to a folder on your computer as you continue your research. So we've got this print preview here, and you could just drop down this window and save it as a PDF right here. I do this all day. My laptop is inundated with saved PDFs from past stuff. And that will allow you to save out the comps. Yeah. So if you somehow tragically lost the listing presentation or the CMA, at least you could come back to these comps to learn more about them, to study them, to recall them easier on the internet that way. So I like to do that. I like to create a folder on my hard drive with that address, and the client's name is how I think being organized really helps me out to come back to these. But the comps have to be up to date. So if you're revisiting a house 3 months later, you should run the comps again, because things may have changed. There might be more pertinent information as well. So that's how I do it. So if I lose the CMA, it's not the end of the world, because I can come back to the comps here. So that's one way I do those. Let's see. This is just an example of what this one here looks like. I guess this is the print version in Core Present is spitting out. But email is really nice as well. So if you were doing email presentation, what would you do here? Oh, you have to add a client. That's why it's not letting me email this. So you have to add the client to your contacts in KV Core to link it to the Core Present folder there, and then it will let you know when they've opened the KV Core Present CMA as well. Okay, that was a lot of info. Brian, anything else you want to? I know you know a lot about this. Any other thoughts you have about CMA's comps?
No, not really.
Right.
The hardest part for me is doing land comps.
Oh, land is tough. Raw land, he is very hard to come by in New Jersey for sure. And this all comes with experience. That's why it's a great time for us to be reviewing now. And I think that the more you do these, the more questions that comes up, and that's part of the learning. And the more time we spend in the MLS, the better we understand market values. And knowing market values is one of the the biggest value adds we bring for the clients too, of being on top of the numbers and stuff. They expect that from us. So it's something we can always practice at home, which is I think it's cool. It's a challenge to know different towns, different communities, stuff like that. There's a million different options on the MLS for doing advanced searches, but we just did kind of a bare bones one today just to get you going. Any other questions? Here for today?
No, I was actually going to say that was really, really helpful. I mean, I tried to do this a bit on my own before. This kind of how the question came up, but this cleared up like a lot of information. I really like the KV Core version a lot better, to be honest. I just like the presentation, like you were saying. I mean, I definitely see the value of finding the comps on the MLS, but yeah, just setting it up. And actually, I want to just kind of do a practice one on my house and just just play around with it a little bit.
Yeah, and it would be a great practice to see, well, what comps does Core Present pull up on itself, and see if you agree with or disagree with them. I mean, my experience, is it could pull up tear downs, flood zones, stuff like that, and you don't want to bring bad comps to a listing appointment. That'll ruin your shot. It'll ruin any trust you had with that seller too. You only have one chance to make that first impression, and that's why it's so important to be prepared. Is the listing is one on the back end, on your days before it is. You want to have this stuff ready to go. the only person limiting us from mastering this data information is ourselves. So it's great to have this information at our disposal to spend time, and you don't want to rush this stuff. I think just kind of living in the MLS, and it is a little bit of a foreign language, I think, at first, the MLS, and there's a lot of resources. I'm here to help, with
Yeah,
this stuff.
if you see something on the MLS and you have a quick question, you can always shoot me a work chat too. I get it to my phone and I'll answer. And because I remember the first like 3 people I had reached out and were like, "Oh, is this available?" I'm like, "I have no idea. What are all these
Right.
letters and asterisks and all that stuff?" So
I
Okay.
will. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna actually add you on Workplace as soon as we get off here.
It's a great resource. I think, yeah, Brian, even though he's dual career, he works full time and then some. I don't know if I told you, Brian. Yeah, he's dual career too. He's a fitness expert. There's so many opportunities. I think, Brian, I mean, you have given and also received referrals on Workplace, right? You're on there a lot. You really use these resources.
that's been like half my half my deals.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. Yeah, it's like having a 24-hour campus, which is pretty cool.
Except if you send a referral to Washington, pay
And
attention.
there's a lot of other people
Personal.
starting out there too. So, I always encourage you guys to buddy up in the company too. There's a lot of other friendly people out there on these journeys too. It's fun to interact with them.
I'm sorry, Brian. What is your
All
last
right, you
name?
guys had enough for now?
My last name is Holmes, Holmes.
Yeah, is that oh, sorry, my volume went down. Okay, want to call it a wrap for today?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Sounds good.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.
We'll catch you. See ya.
How do I close this?